Thank you, Chairman. Minister, this question relates to the possible potential for a bluefin tuna angling industry to develop in Donegal Bay, which I believe would be vitally important in terms of providing employment off-season and the angling season as well. But in order for that to develop, we need a quota. So that it's a catch and release programme, but it has to have a quota in order to develop. And the department is dragging its heels, as I see it, in terms of actually making that happen.
Ireland has not made a specific application to Europe for a commercial bluefin tuna quota. The available bluefin tuna quota is allocated each year to Member States on the basis of relative stability, as established in the late 1990s. At the time, Ireland had no track record of commercial fishing for bluefin and accordingly did not receive a quota allocation. The only way to obtain a share of the EU quota now would involve reducing the shares of those EU Member States that do have quota and for whom bluefin is an important commercial fishery. A small bluefin bycatch quota is available to Ireland, primarily for use in our important northern albacore tuna fishery and Celtic sea herring fishery, where there can be bluefin tuna bycatch. This bycatch quota is available to other member states of the European Union, While obtaining a viable commercial quota is unlikely in the short to medium term, I am glad to be able to inform the Deputy that during the negotiations for the new management plan for bluefin tuna in the East Atlantic, Ireland was successful in introducing a clause allowing countries without a commercial quota to set up a catch, tag and release fishery. This will allow for the gathering of scientific data by trained tagging operators. My department is currently working with the Marine Institute and the Sea Fisheries Protection Authority, as well as the Department of Communications, Climate Action and the Environment, who have responsibility for recreational angling, to establish a pilot project for such a fishery in 2019. I believe that this fishery will be most beneficial to Ireland, as it will increase our knowledge of the behaviour and abundance of bluefin tuna in northwestern waters, whilst also providing a small but valuable tourism benefit to peripheral coastal communities such as those in Donegal Bay.
Thank you very much. Deputy, 1 minute.
Minister, there's no doubt that the tagging quota gets over the short-term problem of not having a quota, but that's what all it does, is get over that problem. It's basically, so the quota is for a tagging and a scientific research, not for an industry in terms of a tourism industry, and that's what's vitally important. And I believe that you're looking at probably, I think the quota we have, bycatch quota, something like 100 tonnes, 60 tonnes. Yeah, so something equivalent is all you're talking about, and a European-wide quota that's probably amounts to 5, 6, 7, 8,000 tonnes. And you think for the value that we give to Europe in terms of our fishing rates, surely Europe would be able to reciprocate in terms of a quota of 50 or 60 tonne to allow to develop what would allow fishermen who on the off-season to actually work and allow the development in coastal regions of an actual potential for an industry, which would be very important, which would stand alone in its own right rather than on a scientific basis.
Minister, 1 minute.
Just for clarity purposes, what we are facilitating is a catch, tag and release fishery, which will facilitate the angling tourism product that the Deputy alludes to in his question. The allocation of a permanent quota is through ICAT, and the EU is one of, I think, nearly 50 participating bodies in those negotiations for the allocation of a quota. So within the European Union allocation of bluefin tuna quota, we don't have it because we don't have track record there. And if we were to seek to open up relative stability, which is the basis on which quotas are allocated, it would undermine, in the first instance, our approach to the Brexit negotiations, which has been to leave the common fisheries policy and relative stability as an issue to be negotiated in the next negotiations on the common fisheries policy, and to remain focused on what our core interests are in the context of Brexit. I mean, it would be akin to, and the Deputy will appreciate this analogy, a member state which has no mackerel quota presently, looking for a mackerel quota and looking to open up relative stability on that basis. I'm sure the Deputy would hear a lot from his constituents about if Ireland was to be seen to accede to such a request. So effort is a critical issue, and relative stability is a key policy plank. We don't intend to open up for negotiations at this point, but what we are doing is facilitating the recreational angling industry, which I know the Deputy is interested in promoting in his own area, but which is also potential in other areas on the western seaboard.
Deputy Pringle.
Your example of the mackerel quota might have bare basis if the mackerel were swimming up the pier beside a country that hadn't got it already. And the fact is, and that goes back to the Icelandic situation where they're dealing with that mackerel that they already have. But the fact is, people can sit and look out the windows and see where these bluefin tuna are, and the reality is that if we are to allow our fishing communities to develop and our coastal communities to develop and our rural communities to develop, we have to have a dynamic system that actually can accommodate that. And I don't believe that you would open up the whole relative stability issue for the sake of 40 tonne of tuna quota, because that for me would be, I think it's a way of kicking the touch so that to ensure that nothing can be happening, and that's really a problem.
We do have a bycatch quota, which is necessary in terms of those who fish albacore tuna and those who are involved in the herring fishery. We have a bycatch quota of 60 tonne, but we do not have a designated bluefin tuna quota.